There are two entirely separate ecosystems running our world right now. On one side, you have the rigid, highly protected sphere of international diplomacy. On the other, the chaotic, attention-driven economy of internet troll culture. By all known laws of reality, these two worlds should never intersect. Then we have Tekashi 69. He is a SoundCloud rapper whose entire career relies on manufacturing viral shock value and navigating relentless legal trouble. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum sits Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, a heavily guarded head of state operating under strict international sanctions. So how exactly did these two polar opposites end up standing together in the exact same room in 2026? The answer comes down to a single baffling piece of evidence, a paper origami figure of SpongeBob SquarePants. To understand how this crossover actually happened, we have to throw out our standard understanding of global politics. Instead, we need to track the timeline of this paper artifact exactly like a forensic investigation. The timeline starts on April 2nd, in the last place you'd expect to find a geopolitical artifact, the stark isolation of a prison cell. Inside this facility, an incarcerated friend of 699 started a project to pass the time. He began painstakingly folding small strips of paper, assembling them into the shape of SpongeBob SquarePants. Building it took extreme patience. A single piece of paper had to multiply and interlock perfectly until it formed a massive cluster of exactly 600 individually folded pieces. 699 received this finished figure while he was also serving time. It transformed from folded paper into a highly specific souvenir of his stint in the prison system. At this exact moment, the object remains an obscure, obsessive labor of love. It stays that way right up until it is thrust directly onto the world stage. The setting shifts dramatically from a sparse cell to the high-stakes, heavily secured streets of the Venezuelan capital, Caracas. Through an absurd sequence of events, 6ix9ine suddenly finds himself within arm's reach of Nicolas Maduro. Normally, meetings with world leaders follow strict protocols, carefully vetted handshakes, and signed treaties. 6ix9ine operates on a different system, the logic of internet opportunism. Looking at the president, his immediate thought process was captured in his own words. He asked himself, what greater way is to go and get a signature by the Venezuelan president? 6ix9ine treats proximity to a sanctioned head of state as a high-value asset, prioritizing digital reach over any potential diplomatic friction. In a deeply surreal physical exchange, 6ix9ine hands over the 600-piece prison-made SpongeBob, and Maduro signs it. The second that ink touched the folded paper, the crude piece of prison craft transmuted into a completely real geopolitical relic. The public reaction was immediate disbelief. Tekashi 69 and Nicolas Maduro was the absolute last collaboration anyone could have predicted seeing in 2026. This interaction bypasses the traditional filters that usually separate a street rapper from a president, replacing diplomatic clearance with the raw pull of a viral moment. This is the reality of post-satire, where the actual headline is indistinguishable from a comedy sketch, making it difficult for parody to find a more ridiculous angle than the truth. This signed SpongeBob survives as an unironic historical record. When future observers look back at our fractured era, this strange paper figure might be the most accurate artifact of how our culture operated. Ultimately, the pursuit of attention linked these three disparate points: the prison cell, the viral stunt,